the most important strategy and the most important consideration, as far as I'm concerned, is never ever compare yourself with other people. Okay, new immigrants, don't compare yourself with anyone, and don't let anybody's goal determine what your financial goals should be. Okay, don't compare yourself. People are on totally different journeys when it comes to their finances as a family, and it's nobody's business what your goal is or what you're currently working on. It's practically nobody's business, so don't make it anybody's business. And also try not to be in people's business as well when it comes to what they're doing with their finances. You know what I mean? 50-30-20% rule that some people use. They tell you spend 50% on your wants, 20% spend 50% on your needs, 20% on your wants, and 10% on your savings. Okay, I think that's outrageous. So combined, you're spending like 80% on wants and needs. I also think that's outrageous, and I don't also recommend that for anybody. However, there's one I can recommend. Hey guys, you're welcome to my channel today. So in the last video we talked about budgeting, and I did share with you the template that I typically use for my family's monthly budget. And you remember that in that budgeting video we did talk a lot about savings. First of all, you guys, thank you so much for your response. It was really beautifully overwhelming responses that I got to the last video. Okay, so I kind of want to expand the conversation a bit more. Today I wanted to quickly provide perspective about why new immigrants should save aggressively, and how aggressive is enough. What percentage is aggressive enough? That's what we're going to be looking at today. But before I do that, thank you so much. All 500 subscribers. Oh my god. You guys are so kind. So we hit 500 subscribers. Sessions with Ella a few days ago, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys are so kind. Some people would just reach out to me and say, Ella, I'm going to share your videos, I'm going to share your channel, you're doing so well, thank you for all the information. I mean, you guys are kind. It's how people that I do not know just take on this channel themselves and just keep sharing the videos and getting others to subscribe. I do not take your love for granted. Okay, now, how aggressive is aggressive enough when it comes to saving in Canada? Now, the reason why the saving thing is so important, so I'll basically tell you the strategies that we use to save and the strategies that I'll be recommending for saving in Canada. And of course, when I'm talking saving, I'm obviously talking investment as well, but I first of all want to talk about savings in terms of keeping money aside. Canada is that place where one morning you wake up, you have a job, you're doing okay. The next minute you're out of a job. There are so many eventualities that are possible in this country, and that is why we have such thing as employment insurance, where if you're out of job for a while and you've accumulated a couple hours, you can apply to the government and then you get paid a certain amount until you find another job. And again, I think the maximum is also like for 1 year of waiting. It's expected that within the next 1 year you get another job. Okay, so you'll be doing yourself a lot of disservice if you are not prepared for those eventualities, to be fair. And one of the biggest ways to do that and cushion the impact of that, you know, on your family, is to have a very good savings culture, to, especially as new immigrants, to have saved aggressively in the first 1 year that you land. So let's go to the first strategy. Okay, the first strategy for achieving this kind of high level savings is to have a goal for your savings. Okay, again, I've made so many money mistakes in my life. I filmed a video one time where I was sharing the money mistakes that I made in my 20s, and oh my god, looking back, I felt like if I had a goal for my money, I wouldn't have made some of those silly mistakes, to be fair. So yeah, you can have different goals for savings. It could be one goal per time, or it could be multiple goals at the same time. For example, saving for retirement, you're saving to pay up a debt, you're saving for emergency funds, you're saving for short-term purchases, right? Whatever it is for your family, right, per time, the moment you do not have a goal for your savings, and it almost looks like every money you make is money for spending, you know what I mean? And so at that point we begin to miss it. Now the second consideration when it comes to savings would be, how much should I save and how much is good enough? Now I'm not going to be prescriptive in whatever that I'm saying now, but I'll give you different strategies that different people use. Now typically there's a 70-20 10 rule, where some people will tell you spend 70% of your earnings on your needs, spend 20% on savings, and then spend 10% on giving. I don't use that one and I don't recommend that one for new immigrants who are trying to make sure that they quickly put money aside for eventualities. There's another 50-30-20% rule that some people use. They tell you spend 50% on your wants, 20% spend 50% on your needs, 20% on your and 10% on your savings. Okay, I think that's outrageous. So combined, you're spending like 80% on wants and needs. I also think that's outrageous, and I don't also recommend that for anybody. However, there's one I can recommend, as much as it lies within your power. There's a 40-30-20-10% rule that says spend 40% of your earnings on savings, spend 30% on your needs, basic necessities, then spend 20% on your wants, guilt-free spending, and then 10% on charity. I think this one makes a lot of sense. I think I like the 40-30-20-10% rule, 10% rule. I think I like that one a lot, just because I think it's aggressive enough. And I also feel like on days when you can, or months where you can, you should further cut your budget from the wants, the 20% for the wants, which is the guilt-free spending. There are months where you probably spend less than 20%. There are months where you probably spend more, but you just do that balance. And where you have some excesses from your wants budget, you can further add that to your savings. Now when everybody says do a 40% savings, it doesn't always mean, or it might not always mean, that you take 40% of your earning and just keep the money somewhere or whatever. That could also be where your investment is coming from. So let's assume that the 40% savings for you, for example, is 2,000. For example, out of the 2,000, you can choose to say 1,000 will be for savings, 1,000 will be for investment. You know, whether you're buying stocks or you're buying an index fund, you're doing S&P 500, whatever form of investment you're doing, you can then share that amount to say, I'll do some for savings, I'll do some for investment. What you can also do is to say, it depends on really where you are or where your family is in your financial journey. Okay, you could also say, I want to keep the entire 40% aside for emergency funds. Then after 6 months where I have my emergency funds, then I can begin to look at investments. It really does depend on you and depends on your family situation. Okay, the next consideration would typically be to automate your savings in such a way that on payday the bank can automatically take away your savings, whether it's into the TFSA account or it's in your high interest savings account that you have with various institutions. All that matters is that you typically automate it and make sure that it's automatically taken from your checking account on payday. Okay, and then one other thing that generally works is that you should just save for different goals. Okay, so if you want to put in the money for the different goals that you have, whether it's to settle a debt, whether it's whatever your goal is, okay, make sure that you channel funds as much as possible separately for the different goals that you have. Okay, so that you have a good understanding of where you are in your journey when it comes to in your journey when it comes to your savings and your investments. Okay, now for me, the most important strategy and the most important consideration as far as I'm concerned is never ever compare yourself with other people. Okay, new immigrants, don't compare yourself with anyone, and don't let anybody's goal determine what your financial goals should be. Okay, don't compare yourself. People are on totally different journeys when it comes to their finances as a family, and it's nobody's business what your goal is or what you're currently working on. It's practically nobody's business, so don't make it anybody's business. And also try not to be in people's business as well when it comes to what they're doing with their finances, you know what I mean. And make sure you're not comparing yourself with anyone. Okay, if you are able to do 20% and you are very sure that that's the most aggressive you can go on your 20%. If 50% is your most aggressive, by all means. If it's 40%, please go right ahead. But whatever the case, make sure that you are doing this based on what is possible for your family, and try to save in accounts where you do not have access to, where you cannot just wake up one morning, withdraw funds and use for whatever you want. As much as possible, keep away the money in the kind of account where if you have to withdraw, you go through different processes, and let that process stress you a bit if you want to withdraw the funds. What I'm just trying to say is put the money there and don't look at it until that money fulfills the goal for which you were saving it. Okay, so I think I'm going to wrap up this video right here. I know that there's still so much to talk about along the financial conversations. I think that in the next video, I want to talk about businesses in Canada for new immigrants and what we should be looking at as new immigrants when it comes to businesses, the kind of opportunities that are available. Okay, and you know, I'll talk about that in the next video. So I'm gonna catch you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.